All right, so we have Hurricane Ida. It continues to strengthen, especially over the last 24 hours. It did make landfall around noon today, local time, as a Category 4 hurricane in Lafourche Parish with winds around 150 miles per hour. This was just 7 miles per hour shy of being considered a Cat 5. The storm does continue to move inland, only slightly weakening so far, but it still remains a Category 4 storm. It is currently positioned about 70 miles south of Baton Rouge. The track did shift slightly east. It will continue to move north, moving into Mississippi by tomorrow morning, which by this time the more severe rain and wind will have exited the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area, which could likely allow for a safe movement of teams into that area. Ida will continue to downgrade as it moves through Mississippi into Tennessee. Potentially, the storm could remain a tropical depression pretty much throughout its entirety throughout the continental U.S. As it moves through. Looking at some of those forecasted threats, this is looking at FEMA's called a HAZIS, which they look at the highest wind impacts along with the storm track. So that deeper red is really showing where those most significant wind is going to occur, and then pushing out how much farther those winds are going to go. So we can see a lot of the areas that where we'd see the most significant tree damage and damage caused by wind in really this central area, and then pushing into Mississippi. We know some of those impacts are starting, but because the storm is still kind of in its infancy as it moves across land, there's still a lot of projections that we're looking at. Also, just to flip on, looking at social vulnerability. A little difficult to see, but those deeper red areas, that's going to be high SVI communities within the area, kind of identifying there is a lot of vulnerability in this area that will be receiving just those higher winds. And right now, that's just talking about winds. Just going back to kind of looking at the rain, we see that the hurricane's very lopsided as far as rain is concerned, pushing out all the way through to Florida. And so in addition, the storm surge will be focused on that eastern side as well. So when we talk about flooding, we really are more targeting and understanding that a lot of the impacts are going to be focused to the east and remaining fairly dry to the west of the eye of the storm. Jumping back here of even just touching on some of the parishes to kind of call out. The storm made landfall down here in Lafourche Parish. Apologies if I'm saying that wrong. But we also have Terrebonne, and then a few other of the parishes making their way up. So as we start identifying areas of interest, really looking in some of these communities, at least concerned for route clearance and targeting those downed trees. As far as power outages are concerned, really seeing those coming through. About 20% of customers in the state of Louisiana are currently without power, with more than 75% of customers in some of these most southeastern parishes being without power. Some of those approaching almost the whole community reporting those impacts. So not only is this an indication of the potential severity of the storm as we identify debris that could be covering the roads and damaged residential properties, it's also helping us take considerations of other disruptions that this could cause. Power is going to affect some of those critical services, ability to use credit cards, inability to get gas, those type of things. So expect these power outages to increase into the more northern portion of Louisiana, and then pushing into Mississippi as well. And then one other thing, looking at this is what's called a prioritizing operations support tool, another FEMA tool, which they do take into consideration the path of the storm. They take consideration of vulnerability, population density. So calling out some of where they believe some of the most significant impacts are going to be. And we can see some of the ones calling out earlier, but noticing New Orleans is in there, Baton Rouge is in there. But some of those communities, more coastal, I think Huma is one of them. So as the storm continues to progress, we're going to keep looking in those areas. And knowing that damage is occurring, but still a few hours in, and knowing a lot more areas are still going to be seeing that significant damage potentially coming through. But this is just kind of a quick kind of glimpse of some of the images just from social media, even showing a lot of wind damage, but also seeing some of those flooding in some of the different communities. With that, I will turn it back to you, Steve.